how worried about you for Andrew Thomas? And well, okay, how worried about you for week one, but also I think what's even a necessary conversation right now is let's extend that out to maybe even early in the year as a whole, or even overall, just as a player and his future in this organization. How worried about you are you for Andrew Thomas? And go through those layers.
I don't think anything's really changed. Like the only thing is he might not make it for week one.
Yeah.
But I think there's nothing I've heard that his ankle's been giving him problems, or he hasn't been able to run, or physically there's like physical setbacks. Right? He had that additional surgery that Dan Duggan mentioned, reported the other day, several months back earlier this year when take out the screw, which is kind of not like it's not something like that doesn't happen. It's not something crazy. That's always one of the outcomes you hear about it. A lot of guys get the screws or rods or whatever taken out. But their plan clearly, as far as I'm aware, at some point they wanted him to come back and play in a preseason game. Ramp up middle of the summer, get ready, play in a preseason game. When that didn't happen, clearly he was behind that timeline. All right. So it's been a little slower. Now he's still in pretty good shape to get back. The question is, and he's been big into this, like, I'm not going to rush it. I'm not going to put myself out there if I'm not going to play at the level I think I can play at. So I'm not worried about him getting back, and I kind of agree. You probably shouldn't rush it if he's coming back in week 3. Come back in week 3. It's not that big a deal. Like you can't risk that on a bigger picture for Andrew Thomas and the team. But at the same time, it's always been a concern of how does it hold up? How does his foot hold up? He's now had multiple foot injuries to both feet, right? One was a Liz Frank. The other one's been his ankle a couple times. When big guys have foot injuries, it can be problematic sometimes long term. Yeah. You don't know. So I think that, and I've said this from the start, that's always been the bigger concern. How does it hold up long term, his feet and the foot problems, and how does the age moving forward, rather than whether he's going to be able to make it back for the early part of the season or week 1 or whatever it may be. So that to me is still a concern, and there's no answer to it. There's no way to predict that, right? Nobody can realistically tell me this is how it's going to play out. We don't know, but it is a little bit of a crapshoot. He's their only high-end offensive lineman, right? John Runyon's okay. Jermaine Luminore's a quality right tackle. Greg Van Roten is a scrapper. He's a veteran. He's a below-average player in the league probably. And John Michael Smith struggled his first 2 years. So now you're putting James Hudson in there. So now you have a below average left tackle. And what do you have? You have, at best, one or two above average players on your 5-man line. That's not an ideal situation for the Jackson Dart that you were talking about, is it?
No. Do they still view James Hudson as the reliable backup swing tackle plan in the case of Andrew Thomas not being ready? Has Marcus Bowe changed that conversation at all?
I think he's worked his way into the conversation. And again, I don't rule out anything with these guys, but you tell me if it's the smart move. He played 90% of the summer at right tackle, Marcus Bowe, right? Ideally, I think they view him as a future right tackle. You want him to come in his first NFL game and then go play left tackle, to me, would seem like a pretty flawed approach. Hey, come in, 5th-round pick, rookie, first game, we need you to play left tackle. How do you think that would go?
What do you feel better about? Do you feel, because Jermaine Illuminor moved over to the left side last year, and it looked okay. Like, that offensive line last year wasn't as disastrous as it's been without AT. So then, if you move Illuminor to the left, would that open something up for the right side? I think in your opinion,
you're moving pieces around like for a temporary fix. I don't think that's something you want to do. Again, I don't put anything past them. Everything is on the table. I just think they signed James Hudson. If you don't think that plan is good enough to go with for week 1 or one or 2 weeks, again, that is an awfully quick time to give up on a plan. Like you invested money in, they invested real money in this guy. It would be quite an indictment on the signing you just made if you're going to bypass him and start moving people around and doing other things for a 1 or 2 week, stopgap. That would be completely eye opening. But guess what? They did it last year with Josh Zutter. They insisted he was a left tackle, insisted he was a tackle. We all knew he wasn't a tackle and he was a guard, right? From the second he arrived. What did they do? Andrew Thomas gets hurt. He plays one half, he plays really poorly. Second half, he actually played better. Next game, they scrapped the whole plan that they spend their whole spring and summer doing. So, am I going to say that they won't do that with James Hudson? No. But I would lean towards, okay, they signed this guy and gave him real money. He was okay this summer, like kind of what you'd expect from a guy who's not a starting caliber left tackle, to the guy you think you could get by with for a game or two.
Speaking of insisting on things on the offensive line that haven't gone to plan, the interior, Greg Van Roten, JMS, and Evan Neal. Now, I don't know if you've seen. I've had the theory all off season that I think Evan Neal is going to be in an offensive line rotation. They've kind of treated camp like that too, Evan Neal and GVR. But also, you indicated recently that there may be some people in the building that view Greg Van Roten as the best option at center, which then would probably put Evan Neal as the starting guard, and that doesn't make me feel good. None of it makes me feel overly that great. What's your take on all that?
You don't have to worry about that. John Michael Schmidt's the starting center. Like there may be some people who they want to see more from him, right? I think that's a fair thing. Like who doesn't want to see more from John Michael Schmidt? What you've seen the first 2 years wasn't indicative of what you thought you were getting with a second round pick at that position, right? You thought you were getting high end quality center with a second round pick, and it hasn't worked out that way. So yeah, maybe there are people that have doubts that maybe he's going to be that end of the, but he's going to get a chance. So he's going to get that opportunity no matter what. Unless he totally flops, he's going to be their center. Okay. Greg Van Roten is maybe a contingency, but Evan Neal hasn't exactly done wonders to create confidence that he's the answer at right guard. Or you feel confident or comfortable putting him in at right guard either. No, he had an opportunity to beat out Greg Van Roten for the starting right guard spot, and it never even materialized.
No,
never. So that says everything you need. I just mentioned before, Greg Van Roten is a competent veteran in this league. But if you're any sort of player, or a good high end player, or you show anything, you could beat him out in a competition. He's older; they've not invested him in the future. Like you could get in, you could beat out Greg Van Roten, and he never even got close to getting there.
Yeah, the further away I've gotten from Giants from seeing it myself, like fully. And the more that we've actually watched Evan Neal in the preseason, the less confident I am about the rotation. But I still think it's going to happen because I still think there are people in the organization. And it's similar with Hyatt, and we'll maybe go to him next. I think there are people in the organization that just they're trying to will these guys to show some sort of life or some sort of spark. And I think for Neal, the best way that they can try and give him an opportunity to show something at guard is instead of giving him 65 snaps a game where he fucks up on 15 of them, how about you give him 20 or 18 snaps a game where maybe he only messes up on 3? That's my thought. That's what I think maybe their thought process would be there.
That is an extreme loser mentality.
Is it not the? Is it? Hey, can you not see them saying that?
Maybe we don't see him mess up as much because we only make his playing time half. But yeah, like that would be some approach. I don't know. All I know is we know that the Giants want to see that work. You get that feeling. I mean, just listen to the preseason broadcast.
Yes,
you could hear that the Giants want to make that work in the worst way possible. But then your eyes tell you he hasn't taken advantage. And Greg Van Roten is a trusted guy. He's actually a leader on the team. He actually is a super respected guy. He's a really good guy, by the way. Super respected guy in that locker room. I don't envision them, yo-yoing him back and forth in the middle of a game. I have a hard time seeing that being the case.